What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode of the Wood Rat, we are going to be starting a bathroom vanity. Okay, this is pretty much what it's going to look like right here. It's going to be 60 inches wide, 5 feet, 22 inches deep, and about 37 inches tall. Because we're also going to have a 2-inch wooden backsplash on this thing, give it that rustic look. It's going to have what appears to be 4 drawers down this side, but it's actually going to be 1 drawer here, 1 drawer here, and then these 2 are going to look like 2 drawers, but it's going to be 1 deep drawer. Okay? And then of course you have your false drawer over here to accommodate for the sink, and then you'll have your 2 cabinet doors here that open up. So, yeah, that's it. That's what we're doing. Let's get started. Alright, so I already have a good bit of our lumber already cut up. I've got it cut to 2 1/8 inch. We're going to take it over here to the planer, plane it down to 2 inch, and get started on our framework. Alright, now that we have all our lumber cut and planed to size, I'm going to do a little figuring on our dimensions, what to cut the pieces of wood so we can start assembling our frame. I'm not going to bore you with all that because those dimensions are going to change depending on what size vanity you're making anyway, so we'll skip over that. Now I have all my dimensions figured out and the number of pieces I need to cut. All but a few. There are a few pieces that I didn't want to figure out what the dimension was going to be. I want to measure those after the majority of the frame is assembled. Okay, and then we'll measure those and add those in. But I've got the majority of the pieces I need to cut right here. So let's get to cutting. Alright, now that we have all our rails and stiles cut to size, we're going to set up to drill our pocket holes in them. Okay? Now, you're going to want to drill your pocket holes in your rails. You don't ever want to pocket, you're not going to try and pocket hole from your stile to your rail. You're going to go from your rail into your stile. Okay? Your stiles are these vertical pieces. Anything that runs vertical is a stile. And anything that runs horizontally is a rail. Okay? And you're always going to drill your pocket holes in your rails unless you're installing a divider piece, a divider stile in between 2 rails. Then you're going to put your pocket holes in that style. But 90% of the time you're going to put them in the rails and attach them to the stile like that. So let's get set up to do our pocket holes. Now this vanity that we're building here, it's going to be put together, it's constructed using slots in our rails and our stiles and 1/4 inch plywood panels and pocket hole screws. Okay, so obviously we're going to have a panel in the side and in the two sides and also the back. So anytime you're cutting your slots for a panel, okay, the rails that run in between the stiles, you're going to want to cut that slot. Just go ahead and run that all the way through, cut the slot all the way from one end to the other, run right on through. Okay, now when we get to doing the stiles, that's a little bit different, and I'll show you what I do there. Now this is a router table that I have built and mounted to the side of my planer stand so that it can fold down out of the way when I'm not using it, but I bring it up when I need to use it. And it's pretty basic. I just took a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood. I made me an adjustable fence to go on here. I've mounted my router underneath with a 3/16 slotting bit. Okay? And then I made this little box to go on the back to accommodate my vacuum hose to pick up about 98% of the chips that come off this thing picked up by that vacuum. So let's see how that works right now. Alright, we are now going to start to assemble our front face frame. You're going to take 2 of your stiles. Okay. I've already measured up 3.5 inches from the bottom. What that's going to do is that's going to give us a toe kick at the bottom of the vanity. Here, one over here. Grab one of our rails. Put a little glue on the end here. And a little glue on this end here. And we're going to line it up with our marks, stiles. Over here, make sure this one's lined up. Set our clamp. All right. Got us a couple screws and our drill. That. Screws over here. And just like that. All right. Clamp loose. Get them in position up here. Run our top rail. Grab you another rail. Get your glue. And you'll flush this out with the top. Make sure that top is flush. You don't want that thing overhanging at all. It's going to throw your dimensions off and you'll be out of square and cause you a lot of headaches down the road. So again, make sure the top rail is flush with the stile before you set your clamp. Once your clamp's set, then you want to double check and make sure you're still flush across that top. Alright? Make up the screws. Okay, now I got to do a little bit of figuring. You know, this part, I got to make sure that our drawer spacing is even all the way down, and to determine where we have a third rail that's going to go in here, right about here somewhere, and that'll create the doors down here for your cabinet, your false drawer up here, a functioning drawer, and another functioning drawer. Okay, now they got our dimension up here figured out, 6 5/8. We're going to install this top rail across here. It's going to go right here. And then of course we'll have it divided here. You'll have your drawers here, your cabinet here, and your false drawer up here. This one's a little tight, so what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue on here, this end, and then we're going to put the glue on this up here. Okay? If we put glue on both ends, and then we put that in there and try and push that down, it's going to push all that glue right out the back of that joint. So this way we've got it on here. We'll put that in like that first, and then slide it down this end right here. Okay. I got a little hammer like this I like to keep. A little tiny hammer like that just for manipulating, you know, placement of rails and stiles and things like that. Get that lined up with our mark there. Lined up with our mark there. Alright. Up over here. That was a pretty tight fit. That's why I didn't put any clamps on there. It wouldn't go anywhere. So. Alright. There's all our rails on the front face frame. Okay, now remember in the beginning I said that there were a few dimensions I didn't want to cut. I wanted to get the face frame partially assembled, take some measurements, and then we would cut them and put them in. That's going to be our stile that's going right here to separate the cabinet from the drawers. Okay, so I need to know the measurement in here, but what I'm going to do is measure it over here, because you can have a little slight bow or a little twist to these pieces here. So we'll take that measurement right here. Okay, I got 17 1/4. I'm just going to double check over here, 17 1/4. Okay, so now I know I need to cut one 17 1/4 to go in here, and now I'm going to measure up here so that I have another one cut to install here. Okay, so once we cut these two pieces here, these were the stiles that I was telling you about that we are going to have to put pocket holes in the stiles instead of the rails so that we can go from the stile into these rails here. Alright, I got our pieces cut and drilled. And what I'm doing here is I have 56 inches in between here to here. Okay, what I want to do is I want to divide this right down the middle. That way the false drawer is the same length as our drawers going down the side and just gives it a lot better look. Okay, so obviously I just measured halfway, which is 28, and then because these are 2 inches wide, I just backed it up an inch to 27, and this is where I'm going to place my stiles, just like that. And then you'll have your cabinet, your false drawer, 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 drawer. All right, what we're going to do next is we're going to we're going to measure in here, cut us another rail to go right in here to make for our 3 drawers. Now I know in the beginning of this, like what I showed you on the wall over here, was that we're going to have 4 drawers down here. That changed because the customer didn't want the drawers to only be 4 or 5 inches deep. They wanted something a little deeper, so we decided to go with 3 drawers down the side here, and falls here, and the cabinet here. So actually, because we're doing this backwards, it's actually going to be reversed. Okay, we're actually going to be installing that rail right here, and our drawers are going to go here. So when we turn this around the way it's going to go, the drawers will be on the right side. All right, we have our last rail cut and drilled, and we're going to install it right there. All right, well, there it is. There is our front face frame, ready to go. Next, we're going to move on to making our side panel and our back panel.